feria. Listo, arranca.
You want me to start?
Yes, please.
Brilliant. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this panel titled Unlocking Transformation, How Can Multi-Level Action Accelerate the Transition to Zero Emission and Resilient Buildings? It's a really important conversation, and today we're going to hear examples of high-impact climate actions in the buildings and construction sector. This is supported by the Zero Emissions and Resilient Buildings, ZERB, another acronym, because we love an acronym here at COP, ZERB Accelerator. The ZERB Accelerator is a global ABC initiative that was launched at COP29, and it's implemented by C40, WRI, and the Climate Group's Under 2 Coalition, and funded by Bloomberg Philanthropies. So what does it do? It advances multi-level partnerships between national and subnational governments to accelerate decarbonization and strengthen resilience in the building sector. This program has already supported high-impact actions in Colombia, Kenya, and the Philippines. And today's panel, which will be moderated by our colleague Carolina Uceche, Climate Action Director, WRI, Colombia, is going to guide us through the examples from Kenya and Colombia to share what we've learned so far in doing this work. So please join me in welcoming Carolina and our dear colleagues from Kenya and Colombia.
Thank you very much for this introduction, Shampa. So I love to be here. Thank you very much, all of you. So we are going to have a very short but successful discussion about how we can implement these initiatives in our countries, because this is COP 30th, that is the Action and Implementation COP. So let's begin. I would like to present our two lovely speakers today, that's from Colombia and from Kenya. So South America and Africa together here. So let me begin. To Mr. Kennedy. Thank you very much. He's currently working at the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development in Kenya. He holds the position of Deputy Director for Building Safety and Climate Resilience. He acts also as the National Coordinator for issues pertaining to buildings and climate. Also serves as the Senior Country Representative at the Intergovernmental Council for Buildings and Climate, where Kenya is currently Global Vice Chair. Welcome, Kennedy. Thank you for being here. And also Carmen from Colombia, of course, our nicest country in the world. So Carmen is an engineer with a specialization in land markets and policies and a master's degree in energy efficiency and climate change. She has over 20 years of experience in environmental management, sustainability, and public policy. Her career includes executive positions at the Ministry of Energy, and now she's our Climate Change Director at the Ministry of Environment. Gracias, Carmen, por estar acá. Muchísimas gracias por este espacio. So let's begin with some questions for both of them. So maybe we can begin with Kenya. Más arriba. Listo. So please, Kennedy. We understand that Kenya has committed to the Buildings Breakthrough Initiative. Also, we understand that the government of Kenya has been developing a national decarbonization roadmap for buildings and constructions. So we would love to hear more about that. Can you please explain us in 3 minutes how Kenya is implementing this roadmap for buildings and construction, and what recommendations can you give us and to Colombia so we can scale and replicate this initiative? Thank you. In 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. And I would really start by appreciating each and every one of you for being here today so that we could have a candid conversation on how then do we develop as countries modular policies, modular guidelines that steer the processes moving forward. It is true that Kenya is part of the Buildings Breakthrough, and we have been very intentional to see how then we realize net zero carbon buildings as we near our 2030 agenda. In the process of joining the Buildings Breakthrough as a country, we had a national forum upon which we agreed to discuss matters relating to building and construction and climate action that really matter for us. And one of the initiatives that we came out of it as part of the resolution is to develop a national decarbonization roadmap for the building and construction sector. This has never happened before, but it was very intentional so that we develop a guiding document that supports the sector in its decarbonization agenda. And as we started off the process, we got a full support from with Global Buildings Performance Network, together with other partners, including WRI. WRI in this case came forward and supported participation of the subnationals in this process. We are now, we have 47 subnationals in Kenya. WRI has fully supported participation in different ways of 15 of these 47 counties. And we are keen to see how we have more of the subnationals being part of this process. And why are we intentional in terms of bringing on board the subnationals? Development, as you may all know, is happening at the subnational level. And therefore, we are very strategic to ensure that we develop policies at a national level that will have easy time at the points of implementation. And our subnationals are the drivers of points of implementation in most of the policies that we are developing. And therefore, we took it up that when we are developing a decarbonization roadmap, then our subnationals play a key role in the development, not at the point of implementation alone, but the point of development. And this is where the WRI came on board, supported participation, development, and ensuring that the subnationals are part of each and every paragraph of the development of the roadmap itself. And this has been a journey that we have been working with them together with other partners, and we look forward that as we continue implementing the roadmap itself, it becomes a bit easier for us to provide the monitoring, the evaluation, the verification at a national level. And that is a model that we have always been agitating and requesting most governments, especially our colleagues from Colombia, to adopt. One of the ways of doing this is to realize that subnationals exist to serve the very same citizens that we serve at a national scale. And that synergy for the two levels of governance, working together for the good of their own citizens, is very important. So even at a policy development level, that is a new approach we have taken as a country, and road map development is one of the case scenarios in this process. And therefore, we need to enhance our collaboration as stakeholders, as governments, at both levels, to ensure that the policies that we are developing then serves the people that we are working on. And therefore, to Colombia, let's also see how best we create an easier way of, it's called an intergovernmental framework, so that the subnationals and the national entities then work together to develop policies. And most of these policies then are implemented at the subnational level. So it becomes a bit easier to have policies that are implemented and not just kept, at shelves, and then there's nobody bothered in terms of all that. So we are looking at policy development in a manner that is all-inclusive, participatory, and it becomes even easier, even for the citizens and local communities and local participants to feel part of the policy development. And that is the route that we have taken for us in development of the roadmap. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, you answered my second question about multi-level actions. But I come back to you. Dear Carmen, I will give you this in English and then in Spanish. So Colombia was the first country in Latin America 10 years ago that have a resolution or a policy that obligates buildings to have energy efficiency and water efficiency. But now we have moved forward 10 years from now, or 10 years ago, how we have moved forward with the buildings agenda. So in Spanish. Hace 10, bueno, ¿quieres responder? So the question is how Colombia is moving forward with this agenda and how this can be the opportunity to continue working in buildings net zero or in a sustainable construction in our country.
Good morning, good afternoon. Okay, the las ciudades en Colombia son muy diferentes en su planificación territorial, en la construcción, en la normatividad que se da. Entonces, en Colombia, desde la Ley de Ordenamiento Territorial, hay 3 categorías de planificación de ordenamiento.
Hi, hello, I'm Melia. I'm going to translate for Ms. Carmen Duarte. The cities in Colombia are very different in terms of planning and organization. So since the planning law 10 years ago, it exists 3 categories.
Entonces, esta diferencia en las ciudades necesita que haya una coordinación entre el gobierno nacional, que es el que da la política nacional, y en este caso se está trabajando a través del Ministerio de Vivienda, a través del Ministerio de Ambiente, y pues de ahí se habla con los gobiernos locales, que para nuestro caso son las gobernaciones, que son los departamentos, y las alcaldías locales, que son las municipales.
Since there is a lot of differences between cities and landscape, so all cities requires a lot of coordination with 2 ministries at Colombia level, the housing one and the environmental one. And then the 2 ministries coordinate with the regions as well.
Entonces, desde este año se expidió una resolución de lineamientos para la construcción sostenible, que aunque no es obligatoria, sí está dando una estandarización de los elementos que se deben considerar en la construcción. Y digamos que esto es el interés de trabajar programas biodiversas y resilientes, que incluye la gestión del recurso hídrico, la biodiversidad y la resiliencia. Entonces, este año comenzaremos un proyecto con Jeff, con las ciudades de Cali, Barranquilla y Pasto, donde la idea es que haya una articulación entre el sector privado, el gobierno local y el gobierno nacional, donde se integre estos elementos de planificación en la construcción, en el desarrollo territorial, y la intención de tener este tipo de construcción que sea pues digamos que obedezca las metas a 2030 y a 2050 de ciudades resilientes.
And this year we expect an alignment between all parties involved into planning water and biodiversity, that it's not mandatory, but we expect a resolution this year to enable green urban planning. We are also strongly working with Cali, Barranquilla and Pastor to coordinate the private sector, the multi-level governance, and as well as involving the private sectors to ensure green urban planning by 2030 and 2050, which will be related to a JEF project that we will launch this year.
Y finalmente quiero resaltar que dentro de la política nacional de cambio climático existen otros instrumentos que son los planes territoriales de gestión del cambio climático. Asimismo, también los planes empresariales o privados de la gestión del cambio climático, y la integración de estos instrumentos hace que podamos tener una orientación hacia una visión de largo plazo pues para la gestión del cambio climático, donde se integra estos temas de construcción sostenible.
I want to highlight also that Colombia has also other instruments to prepare the communities and to against the climate change and protect them, which is
Yeah, go ahead. I can say that we have a climate change policy, and in that climate change policy we have territorial climate change plans, and in that plans we also have like construction alignments or ideas to move forward in a long-term climate agenda. So that's very important. It is not only in a sectoral way, in a sectoral policy. So we have different policies that the construction is in the center of the agenda. So we have policy and housing and buildings instruments. That's what Carmen was saying. That's very important for us. So maybe I come back to you, dear Kennedy. You were talking about policy and how national, subnational governments are working together in Kenya. That's incredible. Congratulations. But if you can give us 3 recommendations on how these multi-level talking and dialogues are useful for moving forward this agenda in Kenya. 3 aspects, like this, because we are in the Action Cup. So what are the 3 actions at the multi-level governance that we all should do, our countries, to move forward this agenda? 3.
3, yes. The first one is on issue around planning and budgets. There is a correlation between how governments on both levels plan and how resources are allocated to each of the functions that have been planned for it. It is important for us as we discuss the global decarbonization agenda and even net zero or near zero emissions within our building and construction sector, we become very strategic in terms of how we approach our planning and budget. Very important, because functions follow, resources follow functions. And in this conversation, it is important for us to ensure that we get it right in terms of planning, and we ensure that we allocate the necessary resources into that conversation. We also need to build capacity of the very persons, and capacity in this case entails technology, entails human, entails policy. So there is need for us to ensure that as we carry out this process on both levels, we have a process of building necessary capacity for the institutions, for the persons, and every party that is involved in this process. And therefore, institutional capacity strengthening and development is a key component to ensure that we all move together. But as we carry out that on issues around governance, let's also ensure that the different stakeholders who are involved in the zero emission process clearly understand their roles and responsibilities, so that we don't take back the gains that we are looking at it at a global level by having, or rather lack of clear strategies on how and who is supposed to do what and at what level. So clarity of roles, definitions of responsibilities is a key component to ensure that we carry out our intentions or our near zero emissions targets moving forward in a formidable, in an inclusive manner. Thank you.
Wow. So specific roles, specific responsibilities, but also you say capacity building, technology, and policies. 3 things that we must all have to move forward. Thank you, Kennedy. Dear Carmen, also Colombia have moving forward, but what are these opportunities that Colombia have for the next years to move this agenda? What are the next steps that Colombia should bring on to move this agenda in our country?
Sin duda, las oportunidades están en cuando se formulan los planes de desarrollo territorial en cada municipio cuando llega una nueva administración. Digamos que es la manera de invertir o de planear los recursos obedeciendo a una política nacional. Entonces, la oportunidad es integrar las actualizaciones de los planes, la planificación territorial, que en Colombia todavía hay muchas demoras en la actualización de muchos municipios. Entonces, la oportunidad está en que los planes, en la actualización de los planes de ordenamiento territorial estén totalmente articulados con los planes de desarrollo de cada municipio y con estas nuevas rutas y propuestas de política de desarrollo sostenible.
We see, me vas a ayudar, eh? We see that each change of new administration is an opportunity for the cities to integrate all sustainable development principles into the plans, and all related to urban plannings. Those are routes and proposals that we always push forward with the local communities, with the local.
Yeah, Carmen highlight three things: the landscape planning, or the territory, like this. Yeah, the landscape planning. The second one, the development plans, and the third one, all this agenda about building construction, like sustainable construction. So these three plans aligned can be really useful.
Y el objetivo de este tipo de planes o de programas de ciudades resilientes, que debe integrar por lo menos la biodiversidad como un tema estratégico en el ordenamiento territorial, asimismo el fomento de la economía, de economías verdes y bioeconomías, y obviamente la cultura y la educación. Entonces, en estos temas de bioeconomía, economías verdes, es importante también integrar al sector privado. Es importante que haya un compromiso de los constructores a cumplir con la propuesta de país a través de la normatividad, o sea, que cumplan en el desarrollo de sus construcciones, igual que pueden hacer muchas propuestas desde su experticia y desde las nuevas tecnologías que se vayan generando, pero que haya un compromiso de cumplimiento a estos estándares de construcción y que hayan propuestas en las ciudades de negocios verdes o de economías sostenibles.
Biodiversity, green economy, capacity building, and culture should all be values and principles that should be taken on and applied in every new planning, landscape planning, and constructions.
Yeah, also that the private sector must really have some compromises to accomplish the green standards, and that's a huge responsibility for them. So here we have like some compromise. Well, we have responsibilities from the public sector to align policies, and from the private sector to really accomplish the standards of green construction that we are building. Listo. So now we have some videos because we would like also to hear the local government. Here we have national government, but what do cities think or learn or want to see about this? So let's hear about Cali and about Kenya also in this multi-level work.
The ZAB Accelerator program works with national governments and subnational governments to jointly design high-impact, multi-level actions to reduce building emissions and increase or strengthen the resilience of the building and construction sector.
The work of developing the roadmap started in August of 2024, where GBPN brought together a coalition of built environment stakeholders. So far, we have been able to go through a co-creation exercise where we had our stakeholders within 6 key working groups. They have helped us to develop the situational analysis, a baseline assessment for the country, and now we are in the drafting of the roadmap, We hope to be able to launch the roadmap in February of next year, 2026.
The technical aspect is not a problem. We know how to design a net zero or low energy building, but it's the coordination that is always the challenge. You are dealing with governments, you are dealing with private sectors, you are dealing with NGOs, and most importantly, you are dealing with people who are going to end up using those green buildings. And all of these voices, all of those requirements and needs to be addressed in the Green Building Council.
In Kenya in particular, we're working with the State Department of Public Works, the Council of Governors, and the County Government of Kisumu to support the development of the National Decarbonization Roadmap and also the Green Building Standards.
There was also representation from the private sector, who's also a very important player on this. They have a lot of experiences, they have a lot of opportunities where they could also contribute to. So having those diverse voices is very critical, and the workshop kind of amplified those different voices. We're able to kind of let's say, spotlight some of these similarities, which was good because now we know that we have something in common, and also some differences where the code kind of needs to address. So each stakeholder or party has a code that kind of meets their needs, and most importantly, meets the needs of those in the ground who are going to implement it in reality.
Despite the fact that these initiatives are being run by the State Department, that is the national government, counties are the frontiers of us achieving even the national determined contributions, the NDCs. Because if counties do not uptake this solution and start decarbonizing, then us as Kenya will not be able to deliver on our promise. And we are bringing them on board in this particular conference and workshop that WRI has set up, so that we can engage and get feedback from the counties, which are our implementers of this roadmap and even the standards once they are out. Hence, we want to onboard them as soon as possible so that we can receive feedback on the draft decarbonization roadmap and engage them in how they are going to be onboarded on the green building standards.
Ultimate outcome of this is a well-defined green building standards to regulate the built environment and also institute low carbon materials for construction sector.
We need to build the capacity of these representatives. I know this is the start of quite a number of engagements that we expect to happen between the State Department of Public Works, all the partners who are involved, the GPPN, the WRI, and county governments. Next steps, I would recommend that we engage the entire caucus, especially those in charge of energy and public works and planning.
It was good to see that the room was full of government representatives, whether it's a state government level or a county government level. That always tends to be a barrier in trying to get those policymakers in one room. And the 2 days were success in doing that, and the voices of those stakeholders was very amplified. The workshop has done a big leap towards that, and I think some exciting outputs are going to come out of this based on the enthusiasm in the room, as well as the expertise and the problems and the synergies that came onto the surface. So this is going to be a success.
So we are grateful to WRI for convening this co-creation workshop with the subnationals, the county governments. And what has emerged is that they are a key stakeholder, especially in the implementation of the actions that we are proposing within the roadmap. But what is also emerging as a challenge and an opportunity is that there is a gap in terms of policy development, and tied to the subnational policy development is the requirement for financing for that process for development of policy.
Hi everyone, I'm Alejandro Ed, the mayor of Cali, Colombia. Cali was the host city for the COP16 Biodiversity Summit last year, and we're currently working on becoming the world biodiversity capital. That means that we want to set the right example. We want to set the pace for what it means not just to be a sustainable city, but to be a city that protects its biodiversity. Cali is a city that has 7 rivers. We have over 560 bird species, and over 80% of our land area is rural, and it includes a national park. Because of this, we're finding global partners like WRI to see how we can consolidate that role as the biodiversity capital of the world. We're currently working on a new land use ordinance which will put Cali at the forefront of the best practices for a sustainable city. And specifically, we're looking to create incentives so that new construction projects in our city are carbon neutral construction projects. That's something that we're currently working with WRI. Also, last year we developed a biodiversity master plan, and that biodiversity master plan, which we did with support from the Inter-American Development Bank and other international partners, is the framework within which we're going to develop our new land use ordinance. So for us, it's very important not just to count on partners like WRI, but for the Cali experience to be known around the world, and especially at an important summit such as the COP30 summit currently going on in Brazil. I'm sure some of you that are seeing this video right now were in Cali last year, and I'm sure you remember Cali, the COP16 summit in Cali, as being wonderful, with the best green zone ever, and with a lot of music and culture all over. Well, I'd like to invite all of you to come back to Cali, and anyone that's watching this right now, if you want to visit the biodiversity capital of the world, just remember that Cali is where you should be.
Come to Cali. You're always welcome to Cali, please. So thank you very much. This was short but substantive. So we talked to Kenya, we talked to Colombia about policies, capacity building technology, roles and responsibility, alignment of climate change policies and housing policies, and how also the private sector plays an important role here to really have responsibilities in accomplishing standards. So thank you very much for being here. Here is Carmen and here is Kennedy if you want to talk to them. Thank you very much.